All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of DEO's Growth Secrets Podcast. I am Jake Puhl, the CEO of the DEO. And with me today is Gregor Connell, Director of Clinical Education for VOCO America, and Brian Curley, also Director, but of Strategic Markets for VOCO. So VOCO being a supply company inside the dental space, and we're going to dig deep into supplies, cost cutting, change management, and all the things that, it's a really important part of this industry and running a dental group that we kind of have to nail. So, Gregor, anything else you'd add about yourself or what you do?
Well, I'm new to the game. I've been doing this for 35 years. Not exclusively with VOCO, but a quarter of a century with VOCO, which is, as Brian will talk about in a couple of minutes, it's an older company. It's fifth decade. But what I do is clinical solutions to clinical problems. And it doesn't matter if you're a single wet finger dentist or you're part of a large DSO chain, there are a lot of clinical problems that happen every single day. And my niche is offering solutions to those problems, which ends up being priceless for most of the users and the adopters. So in the DSO space, I'm here to try and support and help transitions from one material to another and give a clinical background as to why it happens. So that's kind of what I do.
Well, I mean, I love that because we kind of have this thing inside the DEO where we talk a lot about, it looks good on a spreadsheet, right? So you run this like analysis, you're like, oh, with supplies, fine, save some money. And then we get to the humans. And then that's where the spreadsheet doesn't always match up with reality. And so it sounds like you're there to make sure that the spreadsheet and the humans, like, that makes sense, right? Like what you're trying to do with your supply costs
Right.
and controlling them and reducing them actually happens on the ground level. So I can't wait to dig into that. And then Brian, how about you? A little bit more about what you do and how you help.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Jake. Thanks for having me. I'm Brian Curley. I am the Director of Strategic Markets here at VOCO. I've only been in the industry for about 18 plus years, so I'm a junior here to Gregor. But prior to in the industry, I started out as a sales rep in New York. I became the Northeast Regional Sales Manager, and for the past year plus, I've been in this current role. And in this role, I work alongside 6 regional special market account managers here at VOCO. And together, we work with, the small emerging groups all the way up to the national boys, the big guys. And together, we just try and help them grow, prosper. So it's an enjoying, challenging field.
Totally. It's always a hot topic. And Brian, you were telling me some cool stuff about VOCO. Kind of a unique company, been around for a long time. You want to give everyone a quick background on VOCO?
Yeah, so VOCO is a German-based company. We are actually a family-owned company as well. That we've been developing and producing innovative dental materials. We're in our 43rd year now. So we're sold in 122 countries around the world. We're one of the largest manufacturers in Germany. Being family run, we have the advantage of not having to answer to shareholders. We're very customer centric. We try to listen and respond to customer needs, and really offer solutions to the everyday wet finger dentists. We can say that we manufacture almost every product we sell. Not everybody in this industry, especially some of the bigger guys, can say that. And being in control of everything from the raw ingredients all the way through packaging, it makes us efficient, productive. It also allows us to produce materials that offer the clinician consistent high quality at a competitive price.
Well, I mean, you've kind of already touched on the big thing when people talk about supplies. There's kind of maybe a trend the past few years because of the economy where that's been kind of under a microscope, and people are really looking at how to save supply costs and how to get the most efficient kind of balance between quality and saving costs and implementation there. So how do you guys, maybe we'll start with you, Brian, then go to Gregor there. How does VOCO kind of think about, saving costs and supplies and that balance between quality and cost and how to think about that?
Yeah, no, I mean, cost is it's certainly a factor, right? At some point, it's coming up, and I think the big thing is they want quality first. If the quality is not there, it doesn't matter what the price is. They're not willing to invest, and nobody's getting into dentistry thinking I'm going to use the cheapest materials I can. What I find is they want the highest quality product they can at a fair price. And with us, with VOCO, again, being family oriented, not having shareholders to worry about. When you look at our pricing structure, it's very competitive. Recently, I was sitting down with one of the big national groups, and the procurement officer looked me right across from me and said, VOCO's, their pricing is always very good. And so when you have the big guys saying that to you, I think that makes us a little unique, because speaking to some of my peers in the industry, that's not that's not always the case.
Yeah, I love kind of highlighting that as well, because when it gets like really highly cost conscious, and I think people can sometimes lose sight of what quality actually is. My dad always said, buy cheap, buy twice kind of thing.
Right.
So Gregor, I'm curious from your perspective, if I'm a dentist with 3 offices and I'm like, I gotta change, I'm gonna evaluate changing spots. What are some of the things that happen when you actually go to only cost, only cheap? And what are the same, like, you probably heard some horror stories, you probably heard all kinds of stuff. What happens when you do that?
Yeah, over the last 3 decades, I've seen there's only one way. I always say this: there's only one way to do every dental procedure correctly, but there's hundreds of ways to screw it up every day.
Right.
And sometimes it's clinical, sometimes it's interaction materials, sometimes it's a low quality product that comes in at a good price and will make it work in our hands because we're a skilled clinician. But there's only so many things you can do. You can put a pig on lip, you can put a lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. And when it comes to dentistry, where I found over the last few years is that VOCO has been very, very proactive in our design and R&D, to the point where I do a lecture where we talk about the emergence of polyfunctional materials. So that sounds like you're just talking about a bunch of materials, but a polyfunctional material is a material that does more than one thing. And the reason we breathe and live those things is because that is a driving force to saving money. Because when you've got, say, a flowable that you normally put under a class 1 or a class 2, and everybody does and they have for decades, what would happen if you used that flowable underneath the class 1, underneath the class 2, and then also used it for your attachments, because now you're doing Invisalign or some kind of alignment therapy? Instead of buying another product for your alignment material, you're actually using the same flowable you would use in a regular everyday direct resin. So these polyfunctional aspects, where it takes on more roles than traditional, is something that we are quite proud of. We've got quite a few materials that fit in that category, which is a developing group, actually, a developing category in industry. Adhesives, another great choice. There was a lot of clinicians who'll be listening tonight that have more than one adhesive system in their office. Right now, last study we did, over 82% on the survey had more than one adhesive system in their office. And you could do everything with one adhesive system if you've got the right system in-house. The universal adhesives that we offer, for example, you can do chairside repairs. So when it comes to costs like lab fees, where you have to send out to have something repaired or fixed and brought back in again, that's down chair time. You don't have to do that. If you're using a universal, you don't need a special primer. You can do it right there at the chair, fix a PFM, fix a zirconia, fix a ceramic, and have that patient out in one visit. So those sort of things, they're sort of intangible. You don't realize you're actually saving money until you actually know what they do for you, and then you can see where it is. So
I mean, you're saving money in process and time, which, when you look at the P&L line item, it won't show up in this lab cost, but it will show also the happiness of your team, and then you have happy doctors less likely to leave, and all this. A lot of downstream effects when you're making choices based on quality that are hard to calculate almost.
Well, my understanding in this space is that there's a high level of turnover in some areas from a clinical side. And it's not so much from clinical burnout as it may be the fact that some of the clinicians don't actually have control or input over what the C-suite is doing. So the C-suite, Brian and I were talking about this today, somebody makes a great deal with VOCO, they get all these products dropped on a formulary, and the C-suite's doing high fives and having sake bombs. And then you've got, maybe 20 offices where you've got clinicians going, what is this? Why am I using this? I don't like this. Hey, listen, can we just use the discretionary spend? Don't tell anybody. I'll just keep using what I want to use. That is problematic. And if you try and stamp on that and push everybody in that round peg into that square hole, eventually people leave out of frustration. So getting them on board with the materials, helps with their clinical confidence. And also that confidence gives them comfort that they're giving them a quality service to their patients. And that takes one of those niggly little things away from the DSO employee that may help with their framework and their mental framework and where they actually enjoy working more. So lots of things, a little off the beaten path.
No, I think that's perfect. I mean, the supply. So from what we work with our members and people in the industry, a lot of times work on the P&L or trying to show them how to reduce costs. But a lot of these discussions are very nuanced, and it's a much bigger discussion than just like, you know, like I said, the spreadsheet going down. You know, like, this is what it should be, and then you go into real life. And then, you know, the real takeaway there was the executives doing sake bombs. I mean, we got to work on that. I think that's really what
it should be for everybody. I think. I don't think it should just be the C-suite.
That's right. That's right.
Distribute it around with the products as well.
That's right. So Brian, anything to add on that? You know, this idea of kind of evaluating quality with your kind of cost management and balancing those things.
You know, like Gregor talked about, he brought up the bonding, the adhesive system, right? And the fact that most offices have between 2 or 3 different ones in there. If you look at the cost, the gallon of bonding agents, somewhere over $100,000. There's a lot of waste involved, right? And there's an opportunity there with our Futura bond being a single dose delivery system, that it could serve as one bonding agent for all your needs. Again, a unique product. We also have a cement that could be one cement for all your needs, including veneers. And everybody always seems to be looking for a veneer cement. So the fact is, we can really streamline products if the office is in line. You know, obviously, you brought up an example of a 3-office group. I think that's a lot more likely to adopt something like that than an office with 30, 40 locations. But we could help them too in terms of just less waste, and being more efficient. And there's value there, as well as there's an initial cost savings with our products, an acquisition cost savings.
Is that really $100,000 for a gallon of bonding?
Yeah, it is. In my lectures, I actually show a slide and I walk everybody through the mathematics. And it's actually a 3MSP product, which is like $154 a bottle. There's 6 milliliters in the bottle. And we just look at that as dentists and go, yeah, I need that. Like I use that every single day. So you take the $154, you divide it by 6, and now what you've got is like $26 a milliliter. Now to turn a milliliter into a gallon, you've got to multiply it by 3,728. So then it comes down to $99,868.40 a gallon. And you thought cone beam was expensive. Bonding agent is liquid gold. And whenever you look over your shoulder to watch an assistant who's dispensing it, sometimes it's like 1, 2, 3, 4 drops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drops. It's cheaper sometimes to get rid of that person and actually hire someone else than to have them continue to just throw away this liquid gold. So those kind of things people don't realize that. They just don't realize it.
Yeah, we just created some trauma for any doctor that sees us spilling on the floor now.
Oh, wow. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Which is a good thing. We're saving them money. I think that's a good thing to be looking out for. Wow, that's fascinating. So what are some of the things that are coming down the pipeline? Like, what do you guys see as like the future of supplies, or what, you know, how are you thinking about innovation and what's new? Like, what's new now? What's kind of, I mean, you mentioned the multi-use materials. Yes. Anything else come to mind?
I mean, if I go back, maybe even just the last 3 years for your listeners, even 4 years, say go back to 2020, even 2019, there has been a movement within the industry in the restorative sphere anyway, to go to single shades. So a lot of manufacturers have come out with single shade composites that match a broad spectrum. And the timing for that was quite fortuitous, because as we rolled out of COVID, clinicians were going back to their practice after 6 months of having the doors closed and going, well, that's garbage, that's garbage, that's garbage. And they're crying as they're throwing this material that's expired in the garbage. And then they've got to open up their wallet with no revenue stream for the last 6 months and start buying all over again. And you never want to be caught short with not having, you've got your usual suspects, so to speak, the shades you always use, and most of your patients fit them. But every once in a while, you got an outlier. So you have to bank on a couple of products, a couple of shades in the restorative sphere, that you might need. And the day you don't have it is the day you make do with what you've got. And you don't feel good about that. And really, the patient doesn't know any better, but you don't feel good about it. So the single shade concept really allows clinicians to have, and when you go to a DSO and start scaling this thing out, you've now got 20 offices that buy one SKU, right? And it's one shade of a restorative that will meet every single shade for every single patient that walks through each one of those 20 offices. That's a great way to streamline your efficiency. Now that has become very popular, and we're in that space also, and we've been in it for quite a long time, actually. So those are the kind of things that VOCO brings to the table. Now we do have, I got wind just recently that we've got about another 4 or 5 new products coming out next year at the IDS show. I have a sense of what a couple of them are, but at this point, everything's under lock and key. But we'll see what happens. We have enough that we can offer most DSOs right now that we can put a fairly major stamp on their efficiencies and their productivity and their performance, just with what we have right now.
Yeah, I love how really a lot of this is revolving around efficiency and making the process and the flow much easier for clinicians that are obviously getting, this is chaotic in the office. And so any little second there is helpful. Brian, anything you'd add as far as kind of what's, innovation, what's coming down the pipeline, what's trending now, what things you're hearing out in the marketplace?
What I see when I talk to procurement officers or owner operators is they want value add, right? It's, of course, the price has to be in the ballpark, right? It can't be too high, or what have you. But provided that you're in the ballpark from a price, they're interested in what else you can offer and help them grow. And for us, what we've done is we have a VOCO learning site where you can go on there right now and look at 9 upcoming webinars that we're going to be doing with CE. We have 210 on-demand classes available for you. We have 15 product tutorials. When we bring on a new group, we try and look to customize an onboarding educational event with one of our KOLs, someone like Gregor, or we have a doctor on staff as well. Like, he's going, as an example, he's going to a group this weekend. He's leaving tomorrow to speak to, they're having a hygiene summit. And he's going to be presenting a course called Breaking Through the Dental Benefit Code Ceiling. And the objective of that course is to understand how procedures like desensitizing, dental creams, and varnishes can drive profitability for your practice. You're going to learn strategies to optimize dental benefit codes for improved financial outcomes. So it's not just about, hey, buy our materials. It's, we want to help you, be able to deliver those to the end user. We try to provide if you guys can provide an audience, if a DSO can provide an audience for us, we can create a fun learning environment for them that's going to allow the office staff to go from feeling like they have to use these products to wanting to use these products.
Yeah, I mean, I think, yes, I don't know if it's a trend, but it's definitely a reality now, which is a lot of the nature of dental groups or larger dental offices is that it's the dentist is a leader and they're in the chair. And so they have to be the leader and in the chair. And so what they're finding is they need support, right? They can't do everything. Right. And so, we do see a lot of the larger dental offices, some multi-location, that are looking for more support. How can you take stuff off of their plate? And it sounds like, to purchase supplies is one thing, but to have them implemented and to be used in a systematic, smooth way is another thing. Let's talk about change management then. So as you're kind of trying to get people to change their behaviors, right? It's hard in any human situation. So Gregor, this is one of the things you specialize in, is when you do kind of change supplies or change products, you help your clients implement that. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Correct. So probably the last one I did was a couple of months ago with a large group in the Midwest, where they pulled all the providers together. So there were probably about 28 providers in that room, and then some expanded functions and some hygienists. And what we did there was we looked at what their formulary was and said, these are the products that your owner has made the decision to implement. Some of you will probably have some resistance to these products, and I totally understand that here. So these decisions were not made in a vacuum. Financially, they were made, but let me tell you clinically why they were made and how each of these products will impact your clinical efficiency and the performance of what you do, as well as the outcome for your clients. And there's no marketing in it at all. It's all clinical solutions driven. So we would find a location, usually in a hotel. We'll have a breakfast brought in. We might even have a lunch for them, but it might be a full morning session where we've got 3 hours with a break. And it's geared specifically to what they are using or about to use. Because again, as I said before, that clinical onboarding, that establishing that clinical confidence, that the right decision has been made by the owner, the C-suite, whoever it may be, that's paramount to your machine running properly. For a DSO to be profitable, everybody has to be on board. And when you consider the players that are playing on the field are actually the wet finger dentists, they need to know what your game plan is, and they need to know why you did what you did. And that's what I do, not from a marketing side, but from this is how you apply it. Here's the caveats. Here's the Achilles heel. Avoid this, do that, and everything will be rosy. And that comfort, that warm and fuzzy feeling that they get, and it's an open forum. They can ask whatever questions they want. They can challenge me anytime they want, and we'll walk through it. And that makes people walk away at the end of the day going, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'm glad we've got that. I'm going to try that. I can't wait to try that. That makes total sense now.
Yeah.
And I had that problem, but I didn't know I had that problem until he told me I had that problem. And that actually solves it. What a cool idea. So that's kind of what I do.
Yeah, I mean the kind of getting the buy-in and overcoming resistance is the key to all this. It's interesting, Brian. I see the key to this whole system really is what Gregor does on the ground floor, right? And it doesn't work unless the integration happens. You'll just have a bunch of employees that are a little disgruntled, or a bunch of team members, associates, or dentists. So if you don't do that hard work, it doesn't matter at all. Anything additional, Brian, that you leave with somebody listening who's got a few locations and it's always kind of thinking about their supply situation? Anything you would leave them with? Any thoughts?
I think the best thing is to educate yourself, right? To talk to as many people as possible, because by doing so, I think you're going to see you have options. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and there's a lot of products, particularly here at VOCO, that could help you run your business more profitably. And it's not, again, it's about the products and about price, but there's also the quality as well as the support behind the products. You deserve to have all of it and not just the lowest price. And that's where I think VOCO can really help you.
Yeah, there's one thing that we talk about inside the DO is this idea of where the closest point to where the product is delivered, which is the dentist, right? The dentist and the patient interacting is the whole business is based on that. And so when you can spend a lot of time in making sure that's going well, and that the people delivering that, the dentists are happy, you're in a way better spot to have a good business. We should focus a lot on that particular interaction. So we appreciate what you all have done. Congratulations to VOCO for being around for a good while. For 18 years experience, being the least amount of experience in the room here. That says a lot about what you guys bring to the table. And for supplies being an industry that's been around for so long, there is change. It is kind of evolving and changing. I think it comes up all the time in the folks that we talk to. So thanks so much for the work you guys do. And get a hold of VOCO if you are interested in just learning a little bit more about what's out there on the supply side.